Hello, okay, now that we've talked about the different components of an ECG waveform, we're going to talk about how we're going to record ECGs or EKGs during the process of this lab. Now, we used to use a full-blown EKG, this large machine. Now we use something called the AliveCor mobile device, and it's something that you can buy for about $60 or $70. It sticks right on the back of your smartphone, and there's an app to go with it. So we've downloaded that app, we've got it on the phone, we're going to go ahead and fire that app up, and we're going to get ready to record our first ECG or EKG. Now, it's important that when you do this, you're not wearing any jewelry. Watch is probably fine, but very little metallic things should be on your body. You also want to avoid using any lotions that morning because that can interfere with the conductivity of the ECG. So our first ECG is going to be one that we record just so we can see how it works and to analyze the ECG waves to make sure that we're recording them properly. So in order to do that, you need to be sitting down and be sitting down for about 2 minutes before you start to take your ECG. You also want to avoid any kind of caffeinated beverages immediately before you take the recording. Okay, so let's do that now. Okay, so I've got my AliveCor, the Kardia device right here, and I've got my phone on, the app on. Now, the way that this talks to the phone is not through Bluetooth like you would think. It actually uses ultrasonic sound waves, and so you want to make sure that the room is relatively quiet and that you have your microphone turned on. So I'm going to go ahead and start that now and hit record your ECG or EKG. Okay, I'm going to hold it down. And you look there on the left-hand side, it'll say it's a great signal, so we've got a good signal going through there. Initially, the peaks are going to be kind of jagged, and then the filtering software kicks into effect and makes them sort of wavier and easier to decipher. Ideally, we're not supposed to be talking during this, so I'm going to shut up for right now, and it's going to record for 30 seconds until it gets a decent EKG. Okay, then it's going to ask, is this me or is it somebody else? I want to go ahead and click yes. Now, it's very important when you're using this software that you use the Windward Community College login. If you try to create your own account and log in, it's going to take 24 hours until that account takes effect and you're able to download more ECGs. So it's good to already use an account that's already been set up. So we've got this EKG right there. It's set up and it says normal. I'm just going to add a note, and that's going to be that I was sitting down. Okay. Okay, now that we've recorded our baseline sort of sitting down ECG, we want to go back and measure those waves, determine how long the P wave is, how long the QRS wave, etc. And once we're comfortable with that, we're going to go on to the next part of the experiment, which involves looking at the effects of body position on the waveform patterns. Okay, now we're at the first step of our experimental phase of the EKG experiment. So what we're going to have you do is lie down for 2 minutes and be very restful while you're doing that, not moving, not talking, and then we're going to record a baseline ECG or EKG while you've been lying down. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so it's been 2 minutes, so I want to go ahead and fire up my software. Now, if you have another person with you, they can help you out. You don't want to be talking or moving around. So I'm going to close that out, come back to Kardia, record my ECG, and they can hold it while you're holding it like that. Okay, it's going to ask me if it was me, say yes, it was me, and I'm going to add a note on there that I was lying down. Now the next thing I want to do is get ready and fire it up one more time, but now I want to sit up and be recording that ECG as soon as I sit up. So I'm going to go ahead and close that out and then get ready to record another one. And then I'm going to sit up and see what happens. So 1, 2, 3. So what we're trying to see is what the effects of sitting up are on our EKG patterns. And then I add a note. And I'm just going to tell it that I was sitting up. Okay, for our next step, we want to record an EKG recording during a breath hold experience. So to do this, you want to be sitting up and have been sitting up and resting for about 2 minutes. And then you want to start to hyperventilate for about 30 seconds And then after 30 seconds, you want to take a deep exhale and start to hold your breath. And you want to start the recording about 10 seconds into that breath hold to see the maximal effect of what breath hold can have on heart rate. Because if you remember back to when we talked about the heart, we said the heart is innervated by the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is a parasympathetic nerve, and it tells the heart to slow down, and especially it's affected by respiratory movements. So if you have a deep exhale and a breath hold, that can actually sometimes depress the heart rate. So we're going to see if that in fact does happen. Okay, we're going to try this one more time. So we're going to do the breath hold after about 20 or 30 seconds of hyperventilation. So let's try that now. Okay, so that seemed to go pretty well. We're going to go ahead and hit yes, that we want to save that. And then we're going to give it a note, and we'll call it breath hold 3. That one seemed to be the best. Okay, so now we're going to do the last part of the experiment, and probably my least favorite part. It involves doing exercise, traditionally for about 5 minutes, going up and down the stairs. I might abbreviate a little bit today just so you can see how it works, but we want to see what happens to the heart rate and what happens to the waveform pattern after 2 to 3 minutes or 5 minutes of strenuous exercise. So I'm going to go ahead and try for 5. Okay, we're back. Didn't actually run 5 miles, but did about 300 jumping jacks. So let's see what happens to our EKGs here. So you're going to turn on the phone. Probably should have that done first. Okay, so again, I just press down on the sensors. Okay, now it says, did Ross record this ECG? Yeah, I did. So I just want to save that, and we want to put a note on there. I'm going to call that post-exercise. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save those and send those off to the class so you can take a look at the different ECGs. The one where you're sitting up to get a baseline, then after 2 minutes of lying down, then after sitting up immediately, and then of course the breath hold, and finally the exercise. So the whole point of this activity is to be able to identify the different waves, know what they stand for in terms of atrial depolarization, ventricular depolarization, and then look at how they change as a result of different body positions or exercise.